Damien Bendall attack inside of prison. That's what I'm talking about in this episode, people. Now, I hope everyone is fit and well, but before I get into the video, could you go down, like the video to boost the algorithm to get more people watching the channel, where I'm bringing you news of what's happening inside of the prisons, and more so bacon's getting bashed inside of prison. Now, Damien Bendall is in HMP Frankland serving life without parole. And I was going to put the headline, Damien Bendall attacked inside of prison, and give you the breakdown about why he hasn't been attacked yet and what is happening with his situation at the moment. But I didn't want to get accused of clickbait, so it's just Damien Bendall attack inside of prison. Now, anyone who's not familiar with this fucking beast, this monster, I will tell you exactly what he's in prison for. Now, it is called or classed as the Killermarsh murders, where Damien Bendall murdered his partner and 3 young kids, but his partner was actually pregnant at the time. His partner was Terry Harris, who was 35, her daughter Lacey Bennett, 11, her son John Paul Bennett, 13, and Lacey's friend Connie Gent, who was 11 years old. But after he had murdered his partner, the pregnant partner, and her 2 children, he then went on to do the most despicable thing possible, even though these murders were the most despicable. He then went on to full-on SA that poor 11-year-old child before he murdered her. And he murdered all 4 of them with a claw hammer. Now, this beast was on probation, and he was on the at-risk list, and he was someone who was to be monitored, and there was a big outrage about this, and the probation and everything was looked into because of what happened whilst he was on probation. Now, this animal who was on probation, and he was on the at-risk list, meaning he was at risk of offending, he shouldn't have been anywhere near these kids, because anyone who's on probation, more so a lot of IPPs, but I'll tell you a couple of facts first before I get more into the story. There's lads out here, right, who have been recalled back to prison, no offences whatsoever against children or anything. They've been recalled back into prison, and it's been for maybe violence. They've had a bust up in a pub. They've been recalled back to prison, and their own children are not allowed to visit them, even though them children have never been at risk. They've never harmed any children. Their own children, who might be round about, even just say for instance 10-year-old. There's been no history of violence against kids or women or anything, but they've been out and they've had a bust up, and their own children are not allowed to visit them in prison. But yet, someone like this beast is allowed to live with someone else's children in a house, and more so someone else's children who was stopping over overnight. I feel so sorry for the parents of these children, and more so the parents of poor little Connie Gent. Imagine letting your children have a sleepover, and this fucking monster was in that house and done that to your child. Whatever the motives were for this absolute beast of a man, this monster, and after he committed these murders, he actually went on to sell John Paul Bennett's Xbox. The little rat, what he is, jumped in a taxi, went into Sheffield and sold the Xbox for some drugs. Off his nut, he went on to say that he was on the sniff. He's probably been on the crack. He's went back to the house where he committed the murders, probably out of his head, not knowing what to do, starting to feel a bit scared, a bit wary because of what he'd done in case anyone got a hold of him. So the little rat rang the police, told them what he'd done. He rang 999, said that he'd committed 4 murders. I'll put the video on for you now, actually, so you can see it exactly.
Basically, I need the police and the ambulance and that, because I've killed 4 people.
Okay, just hold the line. Bear with me.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Alright, come to me. Mate, have you got anything on you that you shouldn't have?
No, there's no weapons or nothing.
Right.
Do you just want to undo your coat? Have you armed yourself?
Yeah.
You have?
Have you stabbed yourself, mate?
I can see blood on your hands.
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
Just my chest, 4 inches in with a bread knife.
Can we have a look?
Yeah, and 1 on the stomach. I bled quite.
Right, do you want
I
to
bled quite a lot.
yeah.
Can we go down
No,
this?
no, just stay there, stay there.
I just don't want to be in front of everyone.
Alright, just round the corner.
Just walking wounded at the minute.
Alright, stand here, stand here, stand here. Stay here.
Right,
So,
we told you, I know what's going to happen to you now, mate.
Well, I know it's going to
We
happen
just-
when you go to prison, obviously, but again,
Why, what have you done? Have you done something to anyone else?
yeah,
What have you done?
I've murdered 4 people.
He's been calm and compliant, but he's got some stab wounds to his chest. They're not oozing blood, but he's saying that his family are inside and that he believes he has murdered them.
do you want to go?
Are you alright for me to go in? Damien, it's 07:47 hours. I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder. You don't have to say anything, but it may harm your defence. Do not mention when questioned something you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Your arrest is necessary to protect you from harm, to prevent your disappearance, for a prompt and effective investigation. Okay? We're going to get you out, we're going to put you in the back of the van.
Rang them up to tell them he committed these murders. The police came on the scene, obviously went into the house, and they didn't believe it at first, as you can imagine. They've went into the house, but imagine that scene that they witnessed when they went in. Them 3 young children and his partner dead, pregnant partner as well. So then obviously he's been locked up, been arrested, went to court and everything, and he was actually going to take this to trial. He was denying it. He was going to plead guilty to manslaughter, or he was trying to get off with manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. But obviously all the evidence against him, he was even denying what he'd done to poor little Connie before he murdered her, the SA. He was trying to deny that. Obviously, his DNA was on that poor little girl. So the evidence obviously overwhelming. So he pleaded guilty at the last moment, and he was given life without parole. Just what he deserves, the absolute fucking monster. But he was given life without parole, meaning he will never be released from prison. So as you can imagine, this bacon, this monster, will be feeling very vulnerable inside of prison, even though he went straight onto the VP wings, the vulnerable prisoner wing. So he's protected from the mainstream lads who can't get at him inside of prison, because a lot of them would love to take out their own prison justice on this sick, depraved beast. But it did go on to say, when there was a massive inquiry into this through probation and everything else, that he was graded as low risk to partners and children. So like I've mentioned, when he's inside of prison and he's feeling vulnerable, because he will be on the hit list. He is the UK's most hated, or on the list of the UK's most hated prisoners. And the lads will be loving getting a hold of this beast, which will happen, believe you me, at some point throughout his sentence. But at the moment, in May of this year, May 2024, inside of HMP Frankland prison, he committed another hammer attack in the workshops. Now, as far as I know, he's in the segregation unit in the block at HMP Frankland, awaiting this court case. Because as you can imagine, there'll be another case ongoing with this, where he's attempted to murder another inmate in the workshops. Now, I'm not sure exactly what went on, but he's probably been getting griefed of one of the other inmates because of what he's in for. And the other inmate probably was a bacon himself. But Bendall, probably feeling a bit vulnerable, has smashed the other prisoner's head in, or allegedly, because it's still ongoing, smashed the other inmate's head in with a hammer and left him in hospital put him in hospital with life-threatening injuries. So straight after the attack, as you can imagine, wrapped up, tucked down the block, where he probably will be kept until he's had his hearing. Normally, when these sort of attacks happen inside of prison, you get shipped out to another prison immediately. It's just what happens inside of prisons. But with there being an ongoing case, they'll probably keep him there, because Frankland now does have a CSU as well, a close supervision unit. So he will probably still be in there waiting for this case to be heard. But the only thing that will give this rat monster a little bit of credit, or not credit as such, but inside of prison, the other inmates will now be scared of Damien Bendall, because he's serving life without parole. Nothing he does inside of prison will get him extra time, or time that will make any difference to him whatsoever. So when he's feeling vulnerable or feels like someone's victimising him, the other inmates will be feeling quite intimidated by this, thinking that he's got nothing to lose and that he's got the capacity to attack other inmates and try and kill them because he's got nothing to lose. So there will be inmates on the VP wings who will be scared of him. And that's exactly what he'll be wanting inside of prison. He'll be wanting the other Bacons, the other VPs, to be scared of him so that he feels a bit more protected himself because he will get attacked at some point throughout his sentence. But like I've mentioned on these videos previously, just because he's on the VP wing does not mean he will be protected, because there will be lads that are down there for drug debts, the ones that aren't classed as Bacons, but the deadheads that have ran off on protection because they're either grasses or they've ran up drug debts and they can't pay it. These are the ones that will probably attack him when they see him on the VP wings. Or another VP will get a hold of him, another Bacon might give him the Richard Huckle treatment and do to him what he done to them kids. But it will happen at some point. He's in there for the rest of his life. He's only in his 30s, so he's got another 40 years at least, unless he dies young, of trying to escape attacks from the other inmates. So I will be bringing you the prison justice of Damien Bendall attacked inside of prison. But a few people have asked us to do an updated video on this and let everyone know what this beast is in for and what he's actually done whilst he's in prison and where he's at. So as far as I know, he's still in there awaiting this case to be coming up, because as I'd imagine, he'll be taking it to trial to string it out to get a bit more publicity for himself. The horrible, dirty little rat monster, what he is. But hopefully people, you are enjoying the content, and as usual, if you are enjoying it, remember to comment, like and subscribe. There'll be plenty of more videos coming up, and if there is any you want us to make, drop it in the comment section. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.